In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about a few keys to help you break 90 next time you're out on the golf course. So for many of you guys, you'll get to the first tee perhaps, or maybe a particular hole on the golf course that gets you feeling really nervous. And through that nervous energy, we tend to make some mistakes and we tend to have some bad holes. So that opening tee shot causing a little bit of pressure, we end up hitting a poor tee shot, bogey, double bogey, triple bogey, or worse. Or for instance, you might get to a hole like we've got out here, where we've got water in front of the tee, we've got a hazard to the right, we've got trees on the left. The hole measures over 400 meters, you're talking 440-yard par 4. And players struggling to break 90 will often get to these holes and we'll see some really big numbers. So what can we do to help ensure that we give ourselves the best opportunity to get that tee shot in play and try to lower the score on that hole? Well, it's very, very simple. First things first, we're going to get onto the tee and we're going to take a big, deep breath, okay? That deep breath is going to allow that nervousness to kind of push out and transfer out of the body, get our muscles nice and relaxed, and allow us to reduce that tension, meaning that we're a little bit freer for the club to move through the swing. Secondly, we're going to pick a very small target. So as I look down this hole here, we've got a cluster of 3 very small trees at the farthest point down the hole. Now, I will say, you can choose a closer target to you or you can choose something further away, but we want the target to be small, and that's going to be our focal point. So I look at these 3 trees in the distance, and that's the target which I'm looking at. As I step into the golf ball, I maintain focus on that point, and that's the point I'm trying to swing down. I'm trying to hit the golf ball, I'm trying to visualize seeing it over that target line. So when we get up to hit the golf ball, hopefully we'll make a nice committed swing. So as we can see there, by taking a nice deep breath, by focusing on a very small target in the distance, I give myself a great opportunity to hit the fairway. We get the ball in play, we give ourselves a great chance to have a lower score on that hole. Okay, so the next tip I have for you guys, leave your ego at the clubhouse. Here we are, we've got a long par 4, we've still got over 200 meters to get to the green. I have a hazard to the left side of the green, I have a hazard on the right side of the green. And for most players struggling to break 90, we would see them grab a 3-wood and they'd be trying to blast it up on the green to make a par. Guys, if you treat it as a par 5, you're far more likely to break 90 in the end. So here we are, we're in the rough. We've got, say, 205 meters as I measured it. So I've got about 150 meters that I can utilize before I get to that hazard. So I'm gonna take a 9-iron here, I'm gonna lay myself back. By laying back, I'm gonna give myself, should be somewhere in the region of a little knockdown sand iron to the green, which I know that I can control. I know you guys can control it. We're going to hit it on the green, give ourselves a 2-putt, walk away with a bogey, which is going to feel like a par on such a difficult hole. It's a nice smooth swing, we lay it up to a good number, from there we hit it up onto the green, make our 5, run to the next tee, at least 1 shot ahead of the field. And there we've even managed to sneak a par out of it. Now, statistically speaking, when you get to that stroke index 1 hole, that hard hole, those long par 4s, players who struggle to break 90 are far more likely to be having 6s and 7s on those holes than they are 4s or 5s. But it only comes down to not checking their ego back at the clubhouse. Okay, so our next tip, don't follow a bad shot with a bad decision. Here we are, we've got a par 5, we've got a second shot around the corner. We could possibly get close to the green for a second, but our tee shot's ended up in the rough. We're in a divot. Most players I see struggle to break 90. They're grabbing their 3-wood and they're seeing this shot and they're trying their hardest to smash the golf ball as far down the hole as possible. And all we end up seeing is a poor golf shot that doesn't reach its full potential and ultimately generally ends up in a bad spot. The best we can hope for out of this for a player who struggles to break 90 is that they duff it about 100 meters and end up somewhere in the fairway, but we're far more likely to see some sort of manipulation out of this lie, ends up out of bounds, or we double cross it and we hit ourselves into the trees onto the left. So when you get into a situation like this, if you are in a divot, you've hit a poor tee shot, it ends up in the rough, and the rough's a bit heavy and thick. Don't go reaching for the hybrid or the fairway wood. Grab yourself a mid-iron, and we're just gonna make a normal swing on, say, your 7-iron. We're gonna accept that it might only go 100 meters, 110 meters, whatever the case may be, but we're gonna have so much more control over that club. We're far more likely to be able to get it back in play into the fairway. From there, we can begin to improve the score throughout that hole. Guys, if you find yourself doing that, next tip, avoid the sneaky peek. Far too often we watch players from close range are so desperate to see the golf ball go into the hole that they begin to lift their head, and as they lift their head to view the putt, they actually end up turning the tilt of their shoulders, and now we open up the putter face. So we too often see players sacrifice a shot on the hole just through having that little sneaky peek. If you find yourself with those 3-foot putts, what I'd like you guys to do, we're going to first of all line ourselves up with our mark. I like to use a black line that helps me pick my line cleanly. Also, when I'm focusing, I can now focus directly on the black line on top of the golf ball. Next, what we're going to do is when we get over our putts here, we're going to pick a spot so I can see the tip of the black line on my ball here. I'm going to keep my head down after I've hit this putt. So the stroke goes through, I maintain my head being down, my eyes focusing on that exact same spot and not allowing them to move. And wait for the sound of the ball hitting the hole. Okay guys, so the next tip we're looking at, getting out of bunkers in a singular shot, but not just getting out, but getting out with a degree of control. Because far too often, players who struggle to break 90, we often see that they leave the golf ball in the bunker, or if they do get it out, it goes flying across the green and into a bad spot. So, how do we get the golf ball out? Well guys, there's 2 simple keys that you can use next time you're playing. Number 1, it's okay to hit the sand. So let's avoid putting the golf ball back in the stance. Far too often I see players put the ball back, square the face, and they're trying to pick the golf ball off the surface. We don't need to. It's okay to make contact with the sand. The sand is going to help push the golf ball out of the bunker. Secondly, what we're looking to try to do is get the sand to go out of the bunker. Now, far too often we see players quitting on their shots, but I'd like you guys to make the feeling of the sand being hit forward and out of the bunker. This ensures that we commit to the shot throughout the swing and therefore have a better chance of the golf ball going out and going close. As you can see there, we commit to the shot, we hit the sand, we move some sand out of the bunker, the ball comes out in 1, the lip was never a factor, we're sitting there about 10 or so feet for par. So guys, remember, bunker shots are not that scary, just follow those 2 key tips. So this tip may well be the most important tip of the entire video. Get good, get competent and get comfortable in that 30 to 40 meter range. For most of you guys, if you're struggling to break 90, you're going to have that shot a fair bit throughout the round, whether it be long par 4s, whether it be par 5s, where it might be, you're going to have those shots. If you miss a green, you're probably going to be within that 30 to 40 meter range. It's quite often we see players duff it short of the green, or they kind of half shank it, or they blade it through the green, and they just generally mess them up. But if you can get good at that and you can turn 4 into 3, 3 into 2, you're going to see your scores improve immensely. So here we have about a 35 meter shot to the flag. The main focal point when I get over this shot is I want to reduce tension, because that's where a lot of the damage comes from players. Too much tension in the arms. So to do that, we want to feel like the weight of the club head as I start my downswing is what's moving into my downswing. I'm not pulling on my handle, I'm not applying force down. I'm going to try to feel like the weight of the club naturally lowers down, and then that will then reorientate my club face to be square, which gives me the great opportunity to hit the golf ball straight. Okay, so our final tip for the video today, guys, is to try to avoid 3-putting where possible. Now, we have to be realistic. We know we're not going to stop 3-putting altogether, but we certainly can reduce the amount of 3-putts we have. And we actually do that before the round starts. So we're on our practice putting green, we're going to be getting a feel for the roll and the speed of the green, so that when we do get to a situation like this where we've got a front to back putt, so we've only just got the front edge back location pin, that we should have a feel in our hands But if you don't get the opportunity to go to the practice putting green, a really good way to get some feel for yourself, especially early on in the round, is to imagine rolling the golf ball. If you were to roll it or throw it out of your hand, how hard would you do that? And then by doing so, you'll be able to see that you can feel it in your dominant hand, and we should be able to get the golf ball to roll relatively close. So managed to roll it up to about 2.5, 3 feet pin high. So before we go out on our round of golf, we want to get to the practice putting green. We want to try to roll the ball from one side to the other, not at the hole, from fringe to fringe. And then we want to go from lengthways across the green if we can, just getting a feel for the speed of the greens and just getting our touch in for the day. Because if we can reduce the amount of 3 putts we have, we know as coaches and you guys know as players that you are going to significantly reduce your scores. As always, guys, I appreciate you taking the time to watch today's video. And I do hope that you found some of the information very helpful. So please don't forget to like, share it with anyone who you feel might need some help with breaking 90. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out when the videos get released. And above all, guys, please feel free to comment. I'm more than happy to have a chat in the comment section, or if you have a video that you'd like me to make that can help you improve your game, let me know and I'll get onto it. So until next time, happy golfing.